Welcome to the Tactical Dent Tech Podcast. You are now part of a small underground movement of dent technicians from all over the world. We are on a mission to change our industry with innovation, intelligence, and skill. But because we don't rely on an insurance company to steer customers our way, we need to do things different. We need to do things smarter. We do that through a network of technicians that we call the Tactical Tech Movement. Now let's get this revolution started.
Hey, what's up, everybody? John Hiley here, chilling with Angela Hiley on the Tactical Dent Tech Podcast. How you guys doing today?
It's Angela motherfucking Hiley.
All right, Angela motherfucking Hiley. So, we are chilling over here at the shop. It is the night before the podcast drops, like 4:57, and I'm still looking at a hail hood that I got to fix and a partial roof.
That's right.
But I'm here, kicking it with you all. And taking a moment to do a podcast. We're going to be chilling out here tonight. What else is a young couple like us do on a night like tonight? What else, right?
I don't know. I can think of some things.
Break out the yoga mat and do a little yoga. They don't know what we call yoga. But yeah, so anyhow, guys, yeah, we've been up since, what time do we get up in the morning now?
4 Actually, I set my alarm for 3:50 a.m.
So yeah, over the last, we've been doing this now for about 2 weeks now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we are officially back into the gym together. Now,
That's been like a long-ass time.
Yeah, long-ass time. So I would go to the gym, and usually I would take John with me, and now that he's got a girlfriend, he just kind of runs around and does his own thing. And then she was actually typically working out at home. Mm-hmm. And, I would go over to, we got a place called Club 51 Fitness down here. It's more of the bodybuilder's gym, type place. Not quite as much as like a power gym, but kind of like getting up there, We actually do have a local power gym as well, but I say local, but it is probably like 30 minutes away in a town called Franklin that I normally don't like to go down there unless you want your shit stolen, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that being said, so we're getting up early, working out in the morning. And another thing that I got this girl into, because now that she's been working with me, we've actually been listening to a ton of success books. Well, not necessarily success books, but audio books.
Yes.
Yeah. So we started on our first one. I broke her into the dark side, I like to call it, with a book called The Art of Seduction by Robert Greene.
No, we were listening to that one book. The one guy that...
we talked about that on the podcast, right?
Yeah, but that was the first one.
Sure. Yeah, the first one, so we broke into, which would have been, I can't even remember. If you guys had listened to some of the previous podcast, we talked about he was the coach of Michael Jordan, all that stuff. I'll look it up as well.
Yeah, and Kobe Bryant.
Forward. Yeah, so...
and I got really into it.
It's a great book.
She actually really into it.
I was really surprised how well you adapted to audiobooks.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we're in here during the day and or we're driving somewhere, and that's what we do. That's what we do to pass time. Mm-hmm. And I kind of knew that you were into audiobooks as we started listening to them, and I heard you yelling at the speaker.
I was having a conversation with him.
That's when I quickly realized that you liked it a lot.
I was detailing the Corvette out, and I was over there having a conversation with the guy that was reading the book.
Right.
Yeah.
But, the truth of the matter is, a lot of you guys out there, if you're especially spending a lot of time in your truck mm-hmm. and you're driving around, I mean, obviously you listen to the most important thing, which would be the Tactical Dent Tech podcast.
Yeah.
But above and beyond that, I mean, you guys should be checking out some audiobooks.
Yes.
And
expand the mind.
Take that time to do that, because I'm just telling you, if you're I'm not saying music is bad, but if you're spending 100% of your time listening to music and your mind is just in that abstract thought, not causing you to have any dialogue or any kind of conversation in your mind, or if it's not taking you to that next level that you desire, there's a lot of books that can do that. And, I'll be the first one to tell you that, I have to listen to quite a few books, and I can tell a big difference when I don't.
Yeah. You need a good mixture of both. That's what I realized. Music and audiobooks.
Yeah, so the name of that book that we talked about, the first one that she'd listened with me,
love
was Relentless, and that's by Tim Grover.
Love that book.
And I mean, it's honestly, it's just about becoming unstoppable, and it's about becoming the highest, the strongest level, not only of yourself, but of like in general people in society, being the most driven, being the most intense, and typically just transforming your desire for greatness into greatness on every moment.
Becoming a bad motherfucker.
Becoming a bad motherfucker, basically, like Michael Jordan, or I think he coached Charles Barkley as well.
Yeah,
and
he coached Kobe Bryant. Like, I never really cared for Kobe Bryant that much, but then listening to that book and the way that he described Kobe and what he did to improve on his game was amazing. Damn it to hell.
This happens every podcast.
I know,
but
right?
That being said, from there, we moved on to The Art of Seduction, which I told her that literally I wasn't willing to listen to an 18-hour book on this topic with this narration. It's just too... I'm not saying it's not good. There's a lot of really great advice, but it takes you into that dark moment. That it just takes you into the not the dark moment, but I was just getting a phone call at the same time too.
I like it though.
Yeah, it takes you into what we like to call the dark side.
I like it a lot,
and it gives you a greater understanding of human desires, and I mean, just all kinds of amazing things that you can get out of that book. And for the longest time, even Neil Strauss has a book called The Game. And it's honestly like the Bible of picking up women. So it's like the biblical, for guys that go out and pick up women. And the Neil Strauss is like the perfect person to be writing this book because, in all regards, he's not a very handsome guy.
Yeah.
He actually was a writer for the Rolling Stones magazine, and literally went on tour with I think it was several very, very big artists, maybe even perhaps like Aerosmith.
Oh.
And thought that having backstage passes and, being a writer for the Rolling Stones magazine was going to get him laid. Mm-hmm. And come to find out, no, it actually wasn't. And it wasn't until as a writer that he explored the underground realm of these, and this was back in I want to say the mid-90s. Maybe going into the 2000s, early 2000s, where he had explored the world of pickup artists, of men that would go out and basically learn how to pick up women.
Yeah.
And he actually referenced that in his book of reading the Robert Greene's, Art of Seduction.
Yeah.
And it goes all the way from seduction to grand scales, all the way down to Cleopatra, down to, really gives you a deep insight of human desire. Mm-hmm. And, you see the selfish side of human, the I like to say the flesh side, and the spiritual side, and kind of a mix between the two of them. And it even goes into things like such as he'll tell stories of probably the highest ranked seducers in the world, like El Casanova.
Yeah.
Right? And just talks about how Casanova was a masterful individual who could literally talk to a female, a woman, and find out exactly what she lacked in her life, and was able to, at any occasion, to bring that to her. And he was masterful at discovering what exactly any woman lacked, and delivering that to her, and sweeping her off her feet, and blase, blase. And he had many, many successful conquests.
Yeah, John's my rake.
Yeah. You would have to read the book to understand it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
he's another one of those. He's got another.
Right.
He's another one too, but
so,
John's my rake.
Yeah, so they have to go into personality types, stuff like that. You try to identify, understand who you are, and and try to amplify whatever great seductive qualities you might have. Because nobody wants to be the anti-seducer.
No.
They talk about that too. And basically
God,
that's just,
no.
he goes into all these anti-seductive qualities. And the truth of the matter is, if any of you guys or gals out there listening are carrying on what I would say good relationships with people around you, people like seeing you, you are a seducer. You know what I mean? And one way or the other, you've tailored your personality to bring people in, you know, to get them to know you. But the anti-seducer, seducer has all these bad personality types. And what I really liked about it is because even if you are, let's per se, charismatic, or, you know, you have certain personality traits that are very, very good, being charismatic is very seductive. And, you know, on top of that, there's several other personality types that kind of combine together to make, you know, who each and every one of us are, especially if we're having success with other people, right? But the anti-seducer actually will surface parts of your personality that would actually cause you to look into it and be like, that fucking sucks about me because I do that, you know?
Yeah.
And they talk about things I've talked about in like the previous podcast, like shut the fuck up, let other people talk.
Yeah.
You know, think about other people first, you know, don't be selfish.
He also talks about finding your victim.
Oh, yeah.
Who will be your next victim?
Yeah. And I think all of us men could relate to that. Most of us men, anyway. I'm sure there's some of you guys out there who met one girl and one. But let's just say I had many conquests as a younger man.
Oh, dear God,
so
John.
I was always trying to find a, you know, but I, hey, you were one of my victims.
You were one of my victims.
Oh, shit. Oh, you hear that? She reversed it on me.
Just don't be thinking that it was just all you, you know? Like, you were all Mr. Suave and came in and just swept me off my feet and this and that.
Yes.
Man, I put you through a filter system, too.
Yeah. All right. I agree.
You
because
met
the most
your
seductive
match.
quality to have is to make your seducer think they were the one who's are actually doing the seducing. That's the key. So now moving forward, you guys see that, didn't you? Did you guys see that? All right, you guys seen that?
Yeah, because you're just basically trying to one up me.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I'm
we weren't
the
even
one that
like. In
did
all
it.
honesty, that was a little. It's kind of like a little preview to what we're actually moving into. What we're talking into. We're only going to take you into the dark side there for a moment.
Yeah.
We're out of the dark side, right? That's what I told the wifey. I'm like, you can't listen to that book for 18 fucking hours straight. You gotta.
I could.
You could, but you gotta mix it in with something. You gotta mix it in with the light. You know, you gotta infuse your body with positive vibes.
But wait a minute, before we get to the last book that we just listened to, John was listening to this one book, and we were talking about it on the last podcast about
the
this
way
whole
of man.
Oh my God. Okay, so like John came home and he was like telling me about this book and blah 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 blah, and I'm like, oh, that sounds so interesting. You know, he was giving me, you know, blah 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 this, blah 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 that, and I was like, man, that sounds like a really good book. Well, the next day we're at the shop and he turns this book on. And I'm like, what the fuck are we listening to?
Yeah, it pretty much went against every belief that she has.
You were even agreeing with me,
Well,
though.
yeah, to be honest with you, towards the end of the book, there was a lot of stuff I didn't agree with.
This dude was basically saying that he wants to get a group of men together, okay, and form this brotherhood relationship, and y'all are gonna go live out in the woods and live together, and you guys are going to make a little village, but it's just gonna be you guys. You guys can't have women there.
Yeah,
it's just gonna be you guys.
It kind of got weird like that at the end.
It got
of the
really
book.
weird because I'm like, what the fuck is this going into? I'm like, is this dude like wanting to have relationships with like other dudes? You know?
Well, it kind of got like into the worldish as well. You know, at the very end. And it kind of was like, it really got prepper style, like time to prepare for the end of the world. But the whole pretense of the book was the end of the world wasn't a bad thing because you got to go back to your tribal
This is what I got off of. This is what I got out of this book. I was like, oh my God, John had a friend just like what this guy is wanting to create. So John had this friend, okay? He was like, you know, a childhood friend, and then they were friends later on, you know, like early adulthood years. But when John and I got together, John was still friends with this dude. So anytime that John and I were together and this friend would come over, this dude would get so jealous that John was showing his woman attention.
Yeah.
I
never really even noticed
this
it,
friend of John's wanted all of John's attention. He's like, no, don't pay attention to your girlfriend. Pay attention to me. You don't need to be rubbing her leg. You need to be rubbing my leg.
Oh, shit. I was never rubbing his leg.
No, that's not what you never did that, but that's
Sure.
what he was wanting. I'm serious. Even when we had Jonathan and John would be playing with like Jonathan, this dude would get jealous. And I'm like, there is seriously something fucking wrong with you. But then it's like when I was listening to that man book, I'm like, oh, John's friend that he grew up with, that he's one of them guys. He would be perfect. He would love to live out in the woods with a group of guys, and they would just all love each other and live together and be happy.
Yeah, so I don't really, in all honesty, she reminds me about this stuff, and I'd never really seen it. Like, I didn't notice it the way that she notices it, of course.
Yeah.
But above and beyond that, I can see him being that scenario and probably wanting to, because I do recall, think about this. We grew up during like Y2K shit.
Yeah.
And we were kids during that time. We were like, young when the year 2000 clock clicked over, that whole Y2K
I've
shit.
been like 19, 20 years old, so young.
Yeah, but we were young enough where, we thought the whole world was going to go crazy, so we were already thinking about how to form our tribe.
Yeah.
And I kind of get it, like, at that age because, we're going to festivals and outdoor, all that shit. But the premise of this book is the dude is probably older than me, and he's trying to convince me that it was better back when we were in these little tribes fighting for our life every day. Yeah. And I just can't agree with that shit.
I think what it is that book, like I was telling John, is on the extreme for like a book for guys. Just like if me and John listened to this book and it was some female, like she was like this extreme feminist. You know what I'm saying? It was just like there was no middle ground. It was just like to the extreme.
Yeah, basically he was just talking about putting women back in their place.
No, he was not.
In a sense.
No.
So.
That is not what he was talking about at all. He was talking about a bunch of guys forming this tribe and going out in the woods and frolicking together and living happily ever after. And
the interesting thing, like
doing manly things
really
together.
Good friends with Ryan Mickler. And Ryan Mickler actually has a podcast that it's kind of like this whole, there's this whole man movement thing out there. And they all really, in general, say the same shit, But it's just this, in general, this whole manly movement.
Is this manly movement? Is this something new?
I would say relatively new as far as the popularity and people coming together and actually joining groups. There are like, for instance, Sean Whalen would be an example of somebody who.
This totally reminds me about with women. When, like back in the day when women, when they've, you know what I'm saying? Had
Us
their
men
movement
are burning
and stuff
our
like that.
underwear. Just like you women burned your bras.
I don't know. I guess men must kind of, if this is something new that is arising, then men must honestly feel like inferior in some ways. If they're needing to go out and start something like this.
Yeah.
Like for real.
I would say for real though. I would say there are a lot of men that do have. Because I'm going to be honest with you, like society really doesn't teach men how to be men. In fact, the school systems, everybody is trying to take. There's this whole war on masculinity, like it's a bad thing.
No, it's not a bad thing. But this dude's like wanting to go to an
he took it to that next level. He took it to like a level that I couldn't comprehend at a certain point.
It got kind of weird.
Kind of like your whole life intention was to go back to the wilderness in a sense. And I don't want to fucking go back to the wilderness. I don't know about you guys.
Wasn't he saying like something about like men these days are something about making a lot of money or something like that, that's kind of wrong. What he kind of saying?
Yeah, he was getting
like
into that. He was kind of getting into that arena too, which I'm like, dude, the reason why I don't understand that is because people who say that don't fucking truly understand the nature of money. Yeah. Money is an inanimate object. People who think money's wrong think about money more than people that have money.
Yeah.
Because all the whole time they're thinking about it, they're going, oh, that's wrong. That guy bought that. And money is taking over their mind all the time. People that have a shit ton of money, they don't think about it. They just go live the life that they want and have whatever they want. It's not about the money. It's about whatever they want to manifest. Money's energy. I trade my labor. I trade my thoughts. I trade, whatever I created in this world. If I go out and create a fucking, something that beats the Apple iPhone and I become a billionaire, then fuck, I manifested that. I did that with my mind. I did that with my effort. I did that with my work. I did it, right?
Yeah.
And money is just a result of that energy. Yeah. And the bigger you impact, the more energy that you have flowing back towards you. That's all that it is.
Yeah.
It's a reflection of what you put out into the world. If you don't put anything out in the world worth money, then you ain't going to fucking get any.
And the dude, he went on and he was saying something like, oh, if your wife, what was he saying?
Well, if that's the case, the guy should give all his money to charity then.
Yeah.
He really should. I mean, he's selling books. He's doing all this shit. I mean, if chasing the old mighty dollar is such a bad thing.
I think that's what he referred to. Yeah.
It's such a bad thing. Then, and number one, you shouldn't chase money because money's like a cat. You can't really chase it, You should chase your passion. Or, I won't even say that because you got to do a lot of bullshit in between your passion to make it happen.
Yeah.
So you ought to have in mind where you want to be and do whatever the fuck you need to do to get there. Mm-hmm. Right? But the key is having a big goal, a big vision, a big something that you're walking towards. And really, I truly believe that's the fuel that men need.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he even went on. I was just like, man, I would really just love to shove my foot up your ass right now, because he said something about married couples, oh, if your husband would be bragging, be like, yeah, my wife likes to go out and shoot guns. We like to go fishing. We like to go hunting. We like to do, all this awesome stuff together. And then he's like, but she's not a man. I was just like, what the fuck? That means that guy has a fucking awesome wife and they actually enjoy doing a lot of things together.
Yeah, the book got a little fucked up towards the end. So
I know.
You guys could check it out. Listen to it. Make your own decision.
Something must have happened to him. Some gal must have
some gal
must have really. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Something happened there.
Sure. So he's in a war against women, really.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. That's what he is. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I could have ever participated in that war, to be honest with you. When I was a kid, that's all that consumed my mind, so.
Who knows?
Yeah, and it really wasn't, hanging out with my dudes was fun, but in the end of the day, we were really just all chasing girls together, So.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that being said, geez, we're really going in deep into the podcast, getting up to what we actually want to fucking talk about. And that's recently, so like I said, we like to mix up different books. And the recent book that I've read, it's probably been 3 years ago since the very first time that I had listened to it. And it's called You Are a Badass by a girl named Jen Sincero. And in all honesty, I was listening to, because normally it wouldn't be a book that I would traditionally buy. It just didn't have the manly feel or look to it or anything like that.
Yeah.
That it just wouldn't appeal to me. But I was listening to an Entrepreneur on Fire podcast, which is, you guys might remember me and Tom on the John and Tom show, had him, John Lee Dumas on, which he is the absolute, at the time, I don't know now, I think Andy Frisella has probably passed him, but at the time he was the strongest business podcaster in the business field that iTunes had ever seen. Mm-hmm. And we had him on our podcast, and I had listened to a few episodes previous to that, just to kind of get caught up on his vibe, get his energy, because I wasn't listening to him all the time. He does a podcast every day, by the way, with a new entrepreneur that's on fire. And there was a lady on there, and I still can't remember her name, but it was an Indian lady, and I was pretty fascinated with the things she was saying. Mm-hmm. And she had a really good business model and all this kind of stuff, and I can't really remember all the details. But at the end of his podcast, he asked all of his guests what book would they recommend? Don't recommend your own book, because a lot of the guests there are authors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And she recommended that book, and I just happened to look it up, and for whatever reason, I was compelled to download it and listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking love this book. I mean, if you're talking about bringing a little bit of light, a little bit of, just all around
yummy goodness.
Great book. And I had been on this girl right here that's with me, Angela here, Hailey.
Yes, me.
This girl, I had been telling her to either read it. She was convinced that she couldn't listen to audiobooks back in the day for whatever reason.
I just thought it wasn't my jam.
And some of you guys might not think it's your jam, but I'm telling you, give it a shot. If you're listening to this, you can listen to a fucking audiobook.
Yeah.
Period.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm talking to her about it for years, and then finally she comes working with me, and then we start listening to audiobooks, and we get onto this book, and she's fucking lost in it. I mean, it's an intoxicating book. I mean, and she has lots of very, very sound principles on different ways to live, different ways to handle things, such as negative people in your life. And a lot of it's just learning how to let certain things go and bring in different types of energy into your life.
One thing that she emphasized on, and I totally took it all in, is that if there is a learning lesson and you learn from it and you're like so infuriated, like you got some rage going on because you're like, oh my God, I can't believe that somebody got this one over on me, and you're just so fucking pissed. Like, your best thing to do is to take a good 10, 15 minutes, listen to some like music that gets you so pumped up.
Maybe
and
some
like
Rage Against the Machine.
Exactly, and then basically say as many cuss words as you possibly can think of, like just release it all. Like get it all out. Because once you get it all out, then you can just move on.
Yeah, because ultimately the truth of the matter is, if you are ever holding a grudge of any sort on somebody else, it's literally like taking poison and hoping the other person dies.
Yeah.
You got feelings that you carry with you of, you want some sort of, you want to be vindicated, you want to be right.
Mm-hmm.
There's all of these different feelings that you carry in you, okay? Mm-hmm. The other person can't feel these feelings.
No.
So you don't forgive people for their benefit. Forgiving people is a
it's for your benefit, not theirs.
It benefits you. You cut yourself off of that hook.
Mm-hmm.
And then, a lot of times we don't think deep enough into, how the other person really was feeling and what they may be going through in life. I mean, we tend to look at everything through our own scope or our own reality.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we can't understand everything about everybody around us.
No.
So there's a certain point where we just got to give up trying and totally let go. And I think it's something that I can remember having years in the past. I can remember being pissed off at people for certain slights and certain things they did, and
honestly, a lot of time, like one thing that she talks about in the book is that, you being pissed off at someone or mad at them, it's basically you're honestly mad at yourself.
Sure.
And I totally got that, because in a whole situation, I was just like, oh my God, I know why I'm so pissed off at that person. And it's honestly because like I had my blinders on, like all the signs were there. My gut was telling me that this is not a good situation, but I went ahead and just stuck myself in there and just kept pushing through. And basically I let somebody pull one over on me. That's what it boiled down to, and I was just really pissed off at myself. So what I did was I just, listened to some angry music, and then I said everything that I needed to say, and then
let it go.
Then you let it go. You feel so much better too, because you don't want that shit just festering inside of you.
It's not good.
No.
I mean, even if you go back to the book that I talk about in the past with the Dalai Lama and Tutu. Which is essentially, it's the book of joy. So you get fucking Dalai Lama in a book, man. I mean, you just can't. I mean, he knows joy,
Yeah.
And that was one of the biggest things, the biggest sign that pushes me away from anybody. And I will literally, like, you will not if you see me associating with somebody one day and I'm not associating with them the next day, it's usually because I discover something about them that I don't want around me any longer.
Yeah.
And the person you meet the day that you meet them is not necessarily going to be the same person 6 months down the road,
Exactly.
2 years down the road,
Yep.
3 years down the road, especially if you yourself as an individual you're growing leaps and bounds.
Yeah.
And when you do that, people around you are going to get fucking uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, I want you guys to think about maybe essentially like when you first went into your own business or when you took some sort of leap of faith, the people around you that are usually the very first people to begin to caution you and slow you down. And the second thing is the close friends are usually the ones that get the most jealous at some point.
They get jelly belly.
Right. They're sitting there and in their mind and they're saying, why is this good stuff happening to him? And I'm still sitting here on this couch eating potato chips, whatever.
Yeah.
Right. And when I see them signs of jealousy, like I know by reading the Book of Joy, that they talk about that being a venom inside of somebody's body that causes very, very heinous thoughts and horrible feelings. And it's a vibe that I won't associate myself around, you know? And I've kind of learned in the years that I've been doing this, you guys know that I've been out here trying to do whatever I can for the dent removal community. And I've been on such platforms as YouTube for a long time, started out on doording.com. And I've always tried to do as much as I could at the time. Maybe at sometimes I wasn't doing near as much as I am today. And today I'm probably not doing near as much as you're ever going to see in the future. I'm going to be doing way more, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I will tell you guys, the one thing that I learned is that I got to keep my circle small. And just because of that, because just by numbers alone, by default, the amount of people that I actually allow in my inner circle, just by numbers alone, keeping it small, it keeps the wrong people out. I mean, if you got a big group, a big circle, very, very easy for the wrong people to get into that circle.
Yeah.
And just like Andrew Carnegie had once said, he said, in a factory of 4,000 people, all it takes is one bad apple to ruin that whole barrel.
That one bad
And well, they
seed.
talk about that, like literally a whole barrel of apples. If one bad apple is in that barrel, it'll just work its way through the whole barrel.
Yeah.
Now, whether these people are bad or not, I don't know, and I don't care.
Yeah.
All I know is I got a certain type of energy that I like around me.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got to focus on having that presence and having that energy around me.
Yeah.
And that's why usually you'll see the type of people that you'll see around us is because they have that type of energy, you know? So I'm just really, really conscious of that stuff. And I'm giving you guys some sound advice. And I'm telling you, if you're one of them fucking motherfuckers that are jealous, you're not doing yourself any good. In fact, you're hurting your potential every moment that you hold these type of thoughts, because them type of thoughts, they only come from one place. I mean, they come from a place of envy. They come from a place of scarcity. They come from a place of lack. I mean, they come from a very, very negative space, and it creates more of that. It's like the universe that we live in. Whatever we project out into it, it's going to reflect it right back on us, right?
Yeah.
So it's like if you're out there and you're projecting, just for an instance, if you, if you say money's bad, you know what I mean? Like money's bad, you're not going to have money.
Yeah.
If you got a bad outlook on money, you're not going to have money.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like, think about money as energy, right? And money coming towards you. And you sit there and you all day long, you're talking shit about money, but in the back of your head, you need money every day. You're going, oh, I need it to survive. I need it to eat. You know what I mean? You're like a bipolar fucking freak. Think about if you were money, and Jen actually talks about this in her book, and I was very psyched about this little part because I totally forgot about it until we just re-listened to it. Mm-hmm. And she talked about, think about if money was a person, and you hated money, right? But all of a sudden you told that person, you want that person to come around because you had to eat, let's go to lunch together, right?
Yeah.
Oh, get away from me. You're bad. You're horrible. And the whole time they're there, you're telling them how horrible and how bad they are. But then all of a sudden, well, rent's coming up this month. I need you to come over, right? Because I need to make sure I pay, this is where I need to live, right? But oh, you're so horrible. People who do so shitty things to get you, And I mean, I don't suspect like a lot of people listening to this podcast are really going to have them feelings, but we all know somebody who has them feelings.
Yeah.
And I would look inside yourself if you have any of them traits at all. to find a way to fucking erase them, and to find a way to don't think of money other than reward certificates for the energy, the work you put into the world.
Yeah.
You know?
But she also talks about like any of the things that you're wanting to change and make yourself better. She said always start out small and then gradually increase it. And I would totally agree with that.
See, I don't know. Yeah, I do agree with that in some sense, because really on a day-to-day basis, everything, our success is basically a combination of tiny things that we do all day long.
Yeah.
You know, little things, and it's a success. It's a combination of changing our habits, which habits are the things that we do without thinking about them.
Yeah, but doesn't it take like 30 days for your habits to
Yeah, typically, you know, anything that you do, it can take 30 to 45 days to form what's called a new habit, or to tie in that neuro connection in your mind.
She was talking about running, or like even exercising. You know, a lot of times you start out light, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And then you increase it. And then within like 30 days, like this whole exercising routine or whatnot is like fucking awesome, and you're doing amazing.
I want you guys to envision it as a trip that you start taking every day. The first time you take it, all you're going to know is you're going to be looking at your GPS. I got to take a left here. I got to take a right here, right? And then you finally get to your destination. But you, within so many times, you take that trip over and over again. Next thing you know, you're driving it and you don't even remember driving there. Yeah. Because your mind goes onto autopilot and you do it automatically. Yeah. It's the same thing with a habit. So when you start taking, maybe writing down your shitty habits and trying to replace them with better habits, maybe things that successful people would do, you know, and you start understanding that you've got to move towards that path. At first, it's going to be hard. You're going to have to tell yourself, like, okay, I got to do this right now. Okay, well, yeah, I'm supposed to go over here and make this phone call right now. Yeah. Okay, and you're actually telling yourself, but eventually your mind will remember that path. Yeah. And it'll remember that you created these new, you know, neuro pathways, and you'll begin to do it every day. Just like
she also talks about affirmations too.
Sure. Affirmations are awesome. I need to do them much more often.
Me too.
Well, I mean, she knows actually I meditated for a couple years straight. And I did it every morning. And I did something, I read this book called The Miracle Morning. And just the whole idea behind the book was that everything that you do in the morning kind of like sets you up to either succeed or fail for the whole day. Yeah. And I did these morning rituals for about 2 years. And I'm honest with you, I need to go back to do that again, because it was phenomenal. It did have things like affirmations, basically just being fucking happy, loving yourself, and understanding that you need to, when you move forward, success is a combination. The times that I've had the absolute most success, the feeling that I had inside was that I was appreciative of what I had, but I had huge expectations for what was coming in the future. Yeah. And I was sure in my heart and in my mind and my soul that they were going to come to me. Yeah. So it's mixing faith, and that's what that was, that little last part that you hear. I was sure that they were going to come to me. That's mixing faith with expectancy. Yeah. You know, and then on top of that with appreciation, which would be affirmation or gratitude.
Yeah. And your affirmations can be like any type of awesome quotes that you absolutely love. And you just need to look at them every morning and say them. Like, I'm a bad motherfucker.
You know the way I always...
a badass woman.
You know the way I always looked at it. And a lot of you guys know that I'm a believer of God, you know. But I don't care if you believe in God. I don't care if you call it the universe. I don't care if you call it karma. Whatever it is, that's fine with me, man. I'm not going to get into a religious argument with you. I've worked with people that are Muslim that have came here, and I've worked with people that are with Jehovah Witnesses. I get along with pretty much anybody because
we kick it with them all.
I don't seek to question their faith or their belief. That's theirs. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I do seek to understand. I do like to ask a lot of questions, and I just like to just understand people. Yeah. So that's my deal, right, with that. But whatever you call it, whether you call it the universe, whether you call it God, whether you call it Muhammad, whatever you call it, right, what I'm telling you guys is that if you don't have appreciation for what you currently have, I've always looked at it like a parent figure, okay? Mm-hmm. So I give my son something, right? Like a Jeep, like how he's driving a brand new Jeep. Well, he comes home and he throws the keys and he tells me the Jeep's a piece of shit or something like that. Well, guess what? Guess who ain't getting fucking shit after that?
Mm-hmm.
Guess who might get the Jeep taken away from him because of that? I look at the world, the universe, whatever you want to call it, as like a parent figure.
Yeah.
And if
But
they
Jonathan's never, I just want to clarify, Jonathan's never done that.
never done that. Of course, he's not that. He's not that stupid. So like, but literally what I'm telling you guys is like everything projects back on you. So if you're sitting there telling you telling the universe, oh, my life's a piece of shit all the time, then it's just going to send that right back to you, right?
Yeah.
You're just going to keep living in the piece of shit attitude and the piece of shit mindset that you're currently in.
Mm-hmm.
And when you begin to change that mindset and you begin to have expectancy, gratitude for what you have, things will start to change because you'll project back on you what you got, right? It's like as he comes home, he's gratitude. He goes, Dad, I just spent all day detailing my Jeep, which he hasn't done that yet. But I would respect that a lot, because he's taking care of what he's currently got, and I would be more inclined to give him more.
Yeah.
So that's the way I look at it.
Now, before we end the podcast, you have to talk about the fluffy bunny.
Oh, God. Well, no, that was something in the...
I know that little quote, that thing that you're supposed to tell yourself, and I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it.
Well, it actually hit home with my wifey because she, you have... Your mom kind of tries to guilt you sometimes when you talk to her. And
Dear God, yes.
you have these feelings with your mother and all this kind of stuff.
I have mommy issues. I won't. And, I'm being serious. I have mother issues. I have mommy issues.
And she said something that was so interesting in the book, and it fell right in line with that. She said, something about your mother contacting you saying, "Oh my God, I'm a monster because I didn't do this right or I didn't do that right." Instead of that, how about you just say, "I'm a fluffy little bunny that's working on her issues."
Yeah.
So
I'm a fluffy bunny. I'm a fluffy bunny that's working on my issues.
Right. So in that regard, I've been joking with her for the last couple of days. She'll say something to me, and I'll be like, "Hey, I'm a fluffy bunny working on my issues."
Yeah.
It actually does. It feels kind of good when you say that.
It does.
Fuck it, I'll be a fluffy bunny.
Who doesn't want to be a fluffy
What did I call
bunny?
John the other day when he asked me if he was
when he was overweight, when he was heavy set,
and his girlfriend was out to dinner with us.
Yeah.
And he was, of course, saying negative stuff about himself, and his girlfriend's like, "Oh no, you weren't,"
Oh, and she's so much better than the first one. He's on
to the next.
Yeah, she's cute. She's got this quirky, funny personality. I don't know, they just jive a lot better.
Yeah.
Than the first one.
But that being said, they asked me, what did he say? He said he was something. He called himself
I forget
something.
What he called.
He called himself something like an elephant or something like that. He called himself something, some sort of self-degrading type thing. And I looked at him and said, "No, man, you were more like a fluffy hamster."
And there was an older couple that was sitting behind us, and I know that they were laughing about that.
Yeah.
Oh, dear
And that's
Lord.
before we read that part in the book. So I I coined the fluffy hamster.
Yeah.
You're not. It's kind of like when people used to tell kids, like they used to tell me when I was a kid, because I used to be chubby when I was a kid, and I had to wear husky jeans. Yeah. And it was so embarrassing. I had to go into a store and be like, my mom's like, "Well, do you have them in husky?" I'm like, "Can you say it any louder, Mom?" "Okay, I am husky." It's almost like back in the day when you call people big boned.
Oh, when I was in grade school, I had a kid that he nicknamed me Thunder Thighs. And then
Well,
today,
he didn't know that was going to be your husband's favorite part about you.
And then today, I'm listening to a song this morning by Ludacris.
Because she's gangster.
And he's thriving and giving kudos for women that have thunder thighs.
Hell yeah.
How they are so fucking amazing and awesome. Some big old thighs and a nice booty.
That's right. The way they jiggle. All right. So that being said, we're going to bounce out of here, y'all. Remember, you are just a fluffy bunny working on your issues.
That's right. And what was the name of that book again?
That is You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero.
Yes.
And man, any of y'all out there could dig it. Y'all could enjoy it.
Just listen. She's got such a cute voice, and she's funny, and she's got a quirky personality, and you all will love her.
Yeah, honestly, and I've referred this book before on previous podcasts back in the day, along with referring to you many times over and over again.
I know, and I finally listened to it.
And guess what we're listening to now? Tony Robbins, the big man.
Yes, he reminds me of a woolly mammoth.
Yeah, his voice.
From Ice Age. That's what he would.
It's so funny when he first came on, she was listening to his voice and she goes, oh God. She's like, his voice is just, it's just so, what did you call him?
It sounded like he had something stuck in the back of his throat.
Like it's so raspy. And
yeah.
he said this, and I looked back at her and I said, yeah, people used to make fun of him when he was a child about that.
Yeah, and then I felt horrible.
And honestly, I don't even know if people did. I just
John
said that.
Hiley, that's so not.
I just said that to make her think about what the fuck she just said.
That is so messed up.
Yeah. So anyhow, y'all.
But if you listen to any of his books, like picture him. Like if he was in the movie Ice Age, he would be a woolly mammoth.
Yeah, and this book is phenomenal too, guys. And it's a quick read. It's actually Awaken the Giant by Tony Robbins. And he's the NLP man. And most of you guys, a lot of you guys, I'm sure, probably don't even know what the fuck NLP is. But I studied it, and it's a phenomenal thing. It's very misunderstood, but it is. It's just some really good shit. That's a whole nother podcast. So I'll just leave it at that.
Yep.
All right, guys. So anyhow, we appreciate you for coming on this podcast. And I want to ask you right now, if you got anything out of this podcast, you better leave a fucking review, biatch.
Yes. Come on, get on that.
Hey, look, man. But if you haven't got anything out of this podcast at all, get the fuck out of here. Don't come back.
That's right.
Don't come back no more, no more. Get out of here. Don't come back no more. Bow, wow, wow. And anyhow, y'all, we'll see you on that next one.
And remember, it's all about the motherfucking hustle.
Yeah.
Holla.